This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Planning and Zoning for August 5. We have a 2024. We have a very short agenda tonight. Most things have been taken out here. We have only one public hearing. So if you guys are here for any of this other stuff, Alan, I'm going to call Alan and see the changes in the agenda. So if there's something you're here for, we're not going to be hearing it. We're going to be hearing only the zoning amendment is what we're going to be hearing, I believe. Let me introduce our staff. We have Alan Fredrickson out to my extreme left. He's our land use administrator. Andy Belvalki, he is not here this evening. He is our town engineer. Ken?
Ken Quick, I'm a regular member.
Yeah, let me over to my extreme right. My extreme right is Catania. She is our court reporter. And next to her is Christine Hilton. He is our staff secretary. With that, please, Rod.
Okay, Ken Quick was the first member. I'm Rod Williams, also a regular member.
Paul Wyman, I'm vice chair.
Brian Cummings, secretary.
Mark Parisi, alternate.
Okay, very good. Okay, and in any event, before we get going here, I am Vernon Carlson, and I am the chairman of the commission. Alan, could you go over the agenda with us? I know there's been some changes.
Yes, we have three items that are postponed. Item number 2, special permit application regarding 104 Washington Avenue for the cannabis dispensary. That is off the agenda for tonight. It'll be heard on the 9th of September. The special permit application, Quinnipiac University, regarding 5100 and 5110 Ridge Road is off, and that is because they have not been approved by the Inland Wetlands Commission as yet. The two site plans for those applications for 104 Washington and for 5100, 5110 Ridge Road are also off for the same reasons. So the sole remaining application is the amendment application number P2411.
Okay, thank you very much. So if anybody's here for those other ones, we will not be hearing them tonight. What that being said, we go to our public hearing. And Brian,
Okay,
you're going to read that in?
Okay, this is public hearing P24-11, application of attorney John A. Parisi, applicant, proposed amendment to the North Haven zoning regulations to modify section 2.1.1.5A regarding schools and colleges operated by a government unit or a nonprofit corporation in residential zoning district. The proposed amendment is on file in the land use office and in the office of the town clerk.
Okay, thank you very much. John?
Ready for me?
Step forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. My name is...
I beg your indulgence. Please, I need you to have the
The
mic.
mic.
Because all I hear is the noise of this thing. Oh, right. That's all I can hear.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Miss. My name is John Parisi. I'm an attorney in Hampton, and I live in the Millbrook section of North Haven, so I know the town pretty well. I've lived here most of my life. I'm here before you this evening representing Gary DeSimone and Liz Loeb. They're property owners on Ridge Road, 5200 Ridge Road, and obviously have an interest in the development of the adjacent property at 5200 and 5210 Ridge. We're not here to address that specific application this evening. We are here to ask this commission to consider an amendment that I filed. I'm sure you've all seen it. 2-1.1 2.1.1.5 subsection A of the regulations to add language that would require a site to have at least 10 acres, 5 of which must be buildable, meaning no ledge or wetlands or water courses. In order to apply for a special permit, 21.1.1.5, of course, is a special permit section of the regs, to establish a school. By way of brief background, most of the members of this commission served on planning and zoning in 2020 and 2021 when Slade School applied for a special permit to convert the out-of-use church property at 5100 Ridge Road into what they described as an upper school, grades 7 through 12. The other applications that were on this evening's agenda were Quinnipiac's application to convert that same out-of-use church building, plus a 52 by 20 two-story addition, so a total of 2,080 square feet, to a self-described education center. Your commission rejected Slade School's proposal for a host of reasons, including that the level of the site disturbance and coverage Slade proposed was excessive for that property. And here we are this evening. And we will be back again next month to oppose yet another, even more intense application to build a school on the same property. So my clients asked me whether there was some way we might be able to avoid spending their time, energy, and money to oppose future applications every few years. And to be clear, we are talking about future applications. Connecticut Statute Section 8-2H specifically provides that if the commission were to amend the regulations as I propose, it would not impact Quinnipiac's special permit application, which this commission will be hearing next month. You will hear next month that there are ample reasons for this commission not to approve the pending application, but approving this amendment is not one of them. Let me explain why I propose the specifics. First of all, an area of less than 10 acres. That is the minimum lot size that is recommended by the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services for construction of a school. And I'd like to submit an exhibit, which I have brought extra copies of.
Excuse me, is the microphone on?
There is no amplification, it is a recording microphone.
I got you.
If you need Mr. Parisi
No,
to,
I can hear it, but I don't know who's in the back.
Oh.
They can move up. I didn't know it was just recording.
That is the, I think it's 2016 advisory from the Department of Administrative Services. I tabbed the applicable sections, which are, I didn't submit the entire booklet, it's like 180 pages. But the sections that I suggest are applicable are in the executive summary and in the section on site selection, both of which recommend a minimum of 10 acres, and that's for an elementary school. As the age of the students rises, the area that they recommend gets higher. And I point out that the highlighting in there is, I added that.
Excuse me,
So-
are those additional copies?
Those are additional
Yeah,
copies.
if we could see them, that'd be great.
John, I
You could
took
just skim
one
them
for
to
the
us.
record.
Alan, are you marking it both
It's not a here.
as Exhibit A, or you want to do A and B?
Let's do A and B, and the Connecticut School Construction Standards and Guidelines with the green face page will be Exhibit A.
Either way.
John, these are recommendations, right?
They are recommendations, not requirements.
Excuse me, please. Alan, for the record, what exactly, you have to say it loudly, what exactly is 1 and what exactly is 2 or 3 and...
Exhibit
Not one-
A will be Connecticut School Construction Standards and Guidelines. And Exhibit B will be the site selection and design guideline.
Thank you.
That
Sure.
is a chapter of the Exhibit A. Okay, so minimum 10 acres in North Haven. The reason we're specifying the site must be located in the town of North Haven is because the property at 5100 Ridge Road and 5110 Ridge Road is contiguous with other land Quinnipiac owns in Hamden, which is extensive, but predominantly inland wetlands and the Mill River watershed and aquifer. We're suggesting that not be included, or no more than, that not be included as part of the 10 acres. And no less than 5 acres must be buildable, that is neither ledge nor wetlands nor a water course. Now, I'm mentioning 5100 Ridge because I proposed this amendment with that property in mind, but not exclusive to that particular site. I'm not asking you to just pick on Quinnipiac. There are many properties that Quinnipiac owns in residential areas around the town, and submit a map, if I may.
We'll mark the map Exhibit C.
And on there, other Quinnipiac holdings are highlighted.
I'm sorry.
But again, I want to stress that Quinnipiac owns a lot of other properties it could use, and that doesn't even show the extensive holdings by the Bassett Road campus. So, again, irrespective of who wants to develop a school, not necessarily Quinnipiac, I'm not targeting them, although I do have them in mind. Any school at any level, to operate efficiently, a physical plant must have a minimum land area, a critical mass, if you will. The Department of Administrative Services recommends 10 acres, and that's for an elementary school. And I pointed out, as the age of students goes up, so does the minimum recommended size. Could a smaller site work? Maybe. Otherwise, I expect EAS would have made it a requirement rather than a recommendation. So perhaps 9 acres, 8 acres, or maybe even 7 acres could be feasible for the right site and the right school proposal. If this commission were inclined to approve an amendment with a somewhat smaller minimum area requirement, no less than 7 acres, I think it could be workable. And similarly, the buildable area, minimum buildable area, excluding ledge, wetlands, and water courses, might be modified somewhat. I understand that under the right conditions, ledge can actually be advantageous in that it can serve as a solid base for footings. So again, I would not really kick too hard if the commission were to delete ledge from the language, or at least allow for its removal. As shown on the exhibit, Quinnipiac owns quite a few properties around North Haven that are larger than 10 acres. My amendment is intended to make it clear that any would-be developer of a school, the site must be adequate to contain the myriad components that are necessary to safely operate the school facility in a residential zone. That includes placement of buildings at a respectful distance from neighbors. That includes placement of parking facilities at a respectful distance from neighbors. That includes safe and efficient traffic flow, and that includes adequate site access for emergency services. I would point out at this time the advisory that this commission received from the Regional Council of Governments commented that it had no negative comments. nor did North Haven's police and fire departments. I submit to you that the proposed amendment is both reasonable and necessary. I respectfully ask this commission to adopt it either as is or with minimal revisions. And that concludes my presentation. I will be pleased to respond to any questions or concerns the commission might have. And if none, I will thank you for your consideration, and I will yield to others who may want to comment on the application.
Okay, John. You know, I have some interest in the size and in the size of the 10 acres. I think it should be lower than that simply because of the schools that we have in town now. Alan, he is more familiar with me on the particular schools we're talking about. This one actually.
Perhaps so. While I don't, have an opinion in terms of the amendment per se, it's what the commission would like to do. I do have an opinion on the lot size because I don't want to set lots into nonconformity and have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to enlarge or enhance a particular property that the town might own. The ACES school on Temple Street is 7-point-something acres. Okay, I would not want to put that out of conformity. And then it depends on what you want to do with it, to what extent you've got to get over that with process. But I'd hate to see something like that occur. The other issue of note is the building we're in right now. I was a little unclear about your position on camps, or should I say the amendments position on camps in the way that it read. But we run camps out of this building and have for years, and this property is below 5 acres right here. So I'm concerned about that, but that's kind of an issue in terms of the lot size, and some of the schools we have are well over, and there's no particular issue. But I'm just concerned about the town having to go through extraordinary process or try to put a school on something. If the educational fad of the year becomes to break into smaller satellite schools or what have you, you're going to need a zoning amendment, to do it. So I'm just concerned with coming up with a reasonable number on that. I understand your purpose and your intent on it. So that's
good.
That's my issue with the lot size. While you're on it, my issue with the ledge is,
yes.
I don't see any problem with inland wetlands being subtracted. And if you look at our cluster housing reg, there's a subtraction component for inland wetlands and steep slopes. So steep slopes are hard to build on, and they cause problems for neighbors and such too. And I wouldn't have a problem with even, swapping that in. But the ledge, I think just personally, it's an unreasonable burden to put on a potential property purchaser to say, we'd like to, you need to determine where the ledge is. If someone's teetering on the edge, and again, to not really accommodate, you could remove it. But okay, even with that, we would need ground penetrating radar to come up. I'm not joking. To come up with that, and it's not so bad if you're just limiting the scope of your school or your project, whatever it is. But if you're washing out an entire use because of that, I don't think that's prudent. So again, I don't have a problem with the wetlands. I think that makes sense. And I don't have a problem with even the steep slopes. Kind of makes sense to me. But the ledge is difficult. I can see a lot of angst in terms of, you are quite often an applicant's attorney, but to see you come in and have your client already purchased a property and find out that 9 inches below the, you know, your finished grade, you're hitting red rock, and they can't do anything with it. I think that's a difficult burden. So,
Good. John, before we give that up, before I move on, I should say, you know, so you got the interest that we have on moving it down to 5 and taking the ledge out. Those are the reasons that we had talked about. I discussed this with staff, you know, all month long, actually, so, those are the reasons. So, when we get to this, we have a problem, let me know about it. But anyway, let's finish the application.
Well, thank you. If I can address those comments, listen, you're the commission, I'm the applicant, I'm proposing 10. I think 7 is reasonable. I mean, the center school is, excuse me, we're in the old center school, where I started. If you went to the Temple School, which is over 7 acres, I think, I prefer to see 7. Let me put it that way. And as far as the steep slopes, if the commission chose to add that language, if you think that's appropriate, I certainly have no problem with adding that language. As far as the ledge is concerned, I suspect that someone who is proposing to develop a school is going to do some subsurface testing anyway. But as I said during the main part of my presentation, if you were to take the ledge component out of it, you know, that's fine.
Okay.
You're the commission. And as far as the camps at this school, I mean, obviously this is a pre-existing non-conforming use. So, I mean, I don't think it would impact the camps that the town of North Haven runs out of this facility. And certainly Alan is at least as well versed in non-conforming uses as I am. So I don't think that impacts it. And I believe that addressed everything Mr. Frederickson pointed out. And again, I'll ask the commission if there's something that I need to clarify. I'm happy to do it while I'm here,
Well, we
or
want.
afterwards.
I have a question.
Yeah, so we're gonna go right down, Chris. Do you want to start?
I'd love to.
I'll let Rod go ahead. You're good.
Okay, well, no, I think he's asking you, so go ahead.
Sure. You know, a few things. I agree with the camps really not being an issue, right? Any schools in an accredited school, that shouldn't really fall into the same category. Yeah, honestly, I like the 10 acres, you know, size. I think that would work well. The size of our schools isn't increasing radically either in terms of the amount of students that we have. So I think we're in a good spot in terms of additional school buildings for the town. Even regarding some of these changes, I don't, you know, after being a ZBA member for years, that the burden of that change for even a ledge amendment does not seem a hard burden for someone to overcome. You know, the fact of things being in a residential zone is the biggest, you know, reason I see protecting and going with that size, right? I think, and even looking at this map, you know, the other Quinnipiac sizes, you know, there's a lot of room for just a whole university to be plopped in this space too. And with this small use down here, I think the 10-acre size is good. I appreciate you looking to offer a compromise in between, things like that. Yeah, those are some of my initial thoughts on your presentation.
You good?
I think
For the moment, yeah.
Ken summed up a lot of what I was going to say. I was going to ask you your opinion, but it sounds like Ken, as a ZBA member, might be even better stated or situated to answer the question. But a ledge to me seems like the classic example of a variance, when you have difficulty using the land based on natural features. So I don't see that as a real impediment, and I'm happy with 10 acres. But I don't have anything else at this point. Thanks. Ken summed it up well.
Anything else? Nope. You good? Okay.
I have a question for you, Alan. How long has this been in effect? The
The reg, the way it is?
current reg?
I'm not sure as to every word in it, whether it's been changed, but these regs go back to 1960 was the contemporary development of these regs.
And
So I don't know if they slipped, anything more. There's really, it's a real simple paragraph, the way it is currently, so I suspect that none of it has changed since that time, but I can't really guarantee you that.
I'm just wondering what the problems were with the existing to require a change.
So you're saying why Mr. Parisi is
Right.
here? That's, I see.
I could try to address that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thus far, as far as I'm aware, the only schools that have been actually built were built by the town and built on land sizes that were in excess of 10 acres. As I said, within the past 3 or 4 years, we've had now 2 proposals for the same site to construct schools, and Mr. Wayman, I know you were on the commission back when the
Yeah,
Slade
right.
School was here, and we went through these explanations of site disturbance that was gonna have to take place in order to accommodate the septic system, the storm drainage, the traffic flow, the parking.
Right.
And it's just that, and now we're facing it once again. And as I say, we'll be here next month to tell you the same things that we said about Slade School, and it's just kind of like, frankly, it's not fair to this commission to have to hear these applications. It's not fair to an applicant to have to spend, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineering and surveying costs to prepare the thing. And candidly, it's not fair to my clients and their neighbors to have to, hire engineers and ecologists and soil scientists and lawyers. Although I'm not one to complain about attorney's fees, but nonetheless, it's, it puts a burden on everybody. And if we just start out at with the premise that, look, if you're gonna develop a school, unlikely as it may be, or you're gonna expand a school, you have to have a lot size that's able to accommodate it. I went by Department of Administrative Services for the absolute minimum that they, again, recommend, Mr. Cummings, it's not a requirement, it's a recommendation. But presumably there's something behind it, and I happen to think it's the reasons that I point out to you folks. You have to have a certain critical mass to make an educational facility work. So that's how I came to that's why I'm standing in front of you this evening, Mr.
Okay.
Alan, I got a quick question
Make
regarding.
sense to you?
Oh, good. Regarding the town, is there many lots the town owns where a school would be put in?
A new school?
Yeah,
We peaked, I guess, at 7 elementary schools. It sat at 6 for quite some time. We either leased or sold out 3. So we're down to Clintonville, Monteluce,
we have 4.
where we Green Acres, 4, with Ridge.
Ridge.
So that's where we're sitting. We've clipped some of the properties. Ridge sits on one parcel, but there is adjacent land. Some of them have been reduced. Some of these things have been sold out. ACES has 2 of them, but we've also had lease deals to lease to ACES. So there's a lot of flexibility, that's there. And, demographics, you don't really know what you're gonna run into. We don't own many other unencumbered parcels. We have other larger parcels that we own, but those parcels we would not be able to develop with a school because we bought them as open space and we couldn't put that on it. So I don't really know of too many more. The town would have to purchase something. I don't know if they would go down, below the 4 elementary schools or not, but like I say, it could be something where there's a shift, and there've been shifts in the past, on that. It is something you'd never really be able to predict,
Yeah.
but I'm to a certain extent not opposed to regulating this and creating this amendment, but just to keep it where it's something that's workable, makes sense to me.
And then based upon, we did the recent renovation of the middle school, right? And, a lot like Montauk School has a lot of acreage there, right? There's, if we were expanding that school, we'd still have a lot of space within the town for that as well.
Well, it's interesting, and again, I'm not arguing one way or the other than for flexibility in what the town would choose to do down the road. But like Temple Street School, we might want to sell off a portion of that lot, so it would restrict it where, okay, the demographics are altered and they find that smaller schools would be better. We'd be limited in what we could do in terms of selling off a portion of it or subdividing it. On Temple Street, we were able to get elderly housing, on the same lot. We have the new fire training tower, and it's been segmented off. It's been portioned off and split off. So I'm just kind of concerned about maintaining that level of flexibility. It's not ideal to have to go back for a variance for these things. You're better off coming here and changing the reg back. So I was just hoping we could reach some level that was sort of moderate, from the get-go. But
So if we kept it at 10 acres and someone needed to put in a school, they would just go through the ZBA process to get a variance to, say, 6 acres or something like that?
I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend going right back here before this commission and saying, I need you to change the regulation and get it back down to 6 acres and come in. As a development option, a variance is not ideal. For a school,
Because that's really rare.
It would be very rare. Yeah.
So it's,
And the camps are tied in, unfortunately, they're in the same paragraph. I would rather see some more clever writing that would split it out, or, just to clarify it. And that's not to say your writing wasn't clever, it's say like more clever, like cleverer, that kind of thing. So we're okay, John, we're okay.
I was about to be offended.
So
If I should interject at this point, at the risk of stating the obvious, if demographics turn around and all of a sudden we need another elementary school somewhere, one of the nice things about having a local planning and zoning commission is it doesn't take an act of Congress to change what I'm asking you to change tonight. If it makes more sense to have 7 acres, 5 acres, even less, I guess, you can, this commission has the flexibility to be able to respond to those sorts of pressures. And I don't, and frankly, I agree with Alan, about me being clever, but I also agree with him that if the town needed an elementary school and smaller schools were then the fad, and the Board of Ed wanted to come in with a 5-acre site, okay, so you come back to this commission and say, look, here's what's going on. We need another school. We want to build it a little smaller to have more individualized education. We've got this site on pick a street, Rimmon Road, where we've got enough room to put it on 5 acres, and we'd like to do that. So you go to the commission, and the commission amends the regulations again. And that's sort sort of the way it goes. It's a dynamic process, zoning, and, you know, this commission has responded for years to the kinds of pressures that it takes. I mean, you know, you just look at what Pratt & Whitney has become, and so many other examples are around the town of developers doing the right thing for the town, being good corporate citizens, to use the phrase of your late chairman, Dominic Palumbo. There are ways of making things happen, and this commission has always been responsive to that.
John, you talked about amending the regulation, should something like...
It's about time you got in here.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you, John. Now I get to be clever. No, okay. No, the question is, amending the regulation because some change comes in, could we do that through a special permit at that point in time?
No. But what I would say is, you know, just to continue the intelligent dialogue here, I think that you have a special permit for the schools.
Yeah.
So if we're concerned about buffers or real privacy of the residential property owners, you know, multifamily in an EH zone, we've been very lenient in terms of converting properties to EH zones, and there's a required 20-foot densely planted evergreen buffer along all perimeters that engage single-family residences. So I think that's a positive thing, and that's just a separate requirement in the reg. If you write 10 acres, 7, 5, whatever it is, you need a variance or an amendment to change it. If you wrote the reg and it said, in special cases by special permit, an applicant can increase the size of, or decrease the size of the lot if certain conditions are met, well, that's another way to go, but that's not what we see here, and that gets very, very complex. And to a certain extent, it becomes, you know, more subjective in that and less hard and fast. In North Haven, you don't get a variance for parking. You come into the Planning and Zoning Commission and you apply 8.5.1.6 and you say, unless otherwise approved by the commission, parking shall be in accordance with the following table.
Well, just
I'm the biggest proponent of that reg that exists.
Just parking itself, this building was built in the first part of it in 1925. Not a lot of parking spaces in 1925. Okay, and then in John's handout, elementary school is 10 acres, middle school is 15, high school is 20 acres. High schools have a lot of parking.
Yeah.
So you're gonna need that acreage. Middle schools, well, I mean, and sure not, the kids aren't growing that big. I mean, you know, but that probably had something to do with the size. Temple Street School, 7 acres or so at that point in time. That was probably in the 50s and those things. And now everybody's driving, sometimes I think people are driving 2 cars to work.
And I don't think it was approved on 7.5 acres.
It was proved on the big lot.
It was approved on the parcel that ran from Pool Road to Washington Avenue.
Yeah.
And nobody cared in particular, well, we'll put a firehouse over there.
Yeah.
Okay, do a quick 8-24 and let's go. So you kept it all on one parcel.
So you, as staff, you would more favor a 10-acre size for this regulation?
I would be in favor of reducing the 10. Again, I'm not opposed to approving a regulation that, you know, would be helpful. But I just think the number is a little high compared to the other properties that we have here and trying to maintain the town's flexibility. So that's,
I mean, because with Slade School, we're trying to squeeze that thing in on 2.996 acres there.
Yes.
And now that, I mean, day one, I think Jimmy said, it doesn't fit, and it didn't. And now, so 5 acres, I mean, you know, that's only a couple acres bigger.
you're
And John, with this map is all Quinnipiac owned property with
The
the
ones that are
highlighted. And part of the reason I say a larger is when I look at this 5.2 on Mount Carmel or this 5.6 on Canterbury, like this is a pristine part of our town in these residential neighborhoods in this area. And to put a school in these two spots alone, which the five acre requirement would do, I think is not doing a large amount of people justice, who are the residents there.
And if I'm not mistaken, those sites on Canterbury are contiguous with other property that the university owns. I mean, they would have the option to, I mean, candidly, I agree with you. I don't think Canterbury, for a host of reasons, is not a good place to put a school. I mean, there's too many twists and turns on small roads to make that happen. But there certainly is flexibility there. And I would like to just interject. There are a couple of sections of 2.1.1.5 subsections for a variety of uses. And well, the one that comes to mind is if you wanted to do a country club or a golf course, that's got to be 50 acres. So the concept of minimum size requirements for specific uses is not unprecedented. And in terms of making accommodations for buffering zones and things like that, the other thing in there is, I forget how it's described, but whatever the Animal Haven special permit is called, they've got requirements there. Well, you have to have, indoor, all the animals must be kept indoor, and there has to be a buffer zone, and it has to be at least a minimum number of feet from the contiguous residential properties. So Alan's suggestion is in line with at least a couple of the other uses that are already in 2.1.1.5. And I would urge, if you're going to go less than 10 acres, please make it up by, putting in some other kinds of requirements. I was trying to keep this as simple as possible in terms of the ease of incorporating the language into the regulations. If you with Alan's help, choose to tinker with it, I mean, I don't mind. I just would like to see that there be some critical mass required before somebody comes in and builds a school in this town again.
Are there other requirements that you would suggest if we were going to go lower than 10?
Well, I mean, speaking selfishly from my, not that my client's selfish, but from my selfish perspective, I'd like to see parking be, at least 50 feet or so from any other residential property. That there be the dense evergreen buffering to separate the use. I think that's it. I mean, we've got, I don't want to get into specific objections to 5100 Ridge Road, because that's not what this amendment is about. I mean, it encompasses 5100 Ridge, but, I mean, I'm saving that for next month when we start talking about that. And, I've got some ammunition with me, our experts that my clients had to hire. So.
Brian, you're not finished yet, are you?
For now, I am, yeah.
For the moment, you're?
Yeah, for now,
Okay. No, you're good? Okay, very good. Is the commission good for the moment, or?
Go ahead, Bert.
Should I announce that Mark and I are not related?
No.
You spell it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. no,
Same good looks.
Okay, let,
All right, thank you.
we're
Thank
gonna,
you very
we want to take
much.
notes on this. I'm gonna open this to the audience for public hearing.
I shall.
So,
Thank you.
I'm gonna open up to the audience, and you can take notes and respond to them, okay?
Real good.
All right,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're gonna open this up to the audience here tonight, and anybody here would like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone in opposition? Okay, hearing none. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this? Or whoever wants to go first. Okay. No, go ahead, miss.
Mary White, Summer Lane.
Mary, just get an angle, speak good and loud, because everybody in the back wants to hear you as well as we do.
Okay, Mary White, Summer Lane. Excuse me. I am in favor of this regulation, this amendment. So I feel 10 acres is necessary. I think we need to think about if a nonprofit bought 3 or 4 homes in a residential zone, and then together they equaled 7 acres, they could technically build a school, and we wouldn't have even thought, oh gee, you know, looking at those 4 houses, that a school could come in there. So I think we really need to think about the 10 acres. So I'm in favor of that. It is important to protect the character of residential zones. Overdevelopment destroys residential zones. The Town Plan of Conservation and Development has 2 strategies that I think are applicable. So, I'll quote, determine appropriate locations for infill development and facilitate with appropriate zoning, ensuring that such infill residential development occurs in harmony with surrounding property uses, close quote. Developing building schools on undersized parcels in residential zones is not in harmony with surrounding property uses. Another quote from the Town Plan of Conservation and Development, quote, control types and sizes of development through active use of zoning controls, attracting desirable businesses, and protecting residential and recreational areas, close quote. This quote is talking about the use of zoning controls amendment to control types and sizes of development and to protect residential areas and recreational areas. This amendment will prevent schools from being overbuilt on undersized residential parcels in residential zones. It will protect the character of residential zones and thus ensure school development projects are in harmony with residential neighborhoods. Please vote in favor. Thank you.
Okay, Mary, thank you very much. Anyone else want to speak in favor? Yes?
Oh, sure.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Bonnie Byers, 300 Hogan Road, Camden. Do you all know where Hogan Road is? Good, it's right above the college. And we built there, I've been a taxpayer, you can hear me, so I can hold it down here.
No, you
No,
can't.
okay. I've been
I have your last name, spell your last name.
Oh,
please.
B-Y-E-R-S.
Thank you.
I've been a taxpayer on Hogan Road since 1977. I've seen the university grow from a small to a large college, and they've done a good job of it. I just wrote a few PowerPoints that I wanted to tell you about. Obviously, you know, the curvy roads and the increased traffic and all of that it will bring, and how it will upset the adjoining neighbors. But I have a viewpoint that not anyone else has in this room. And if the school is built on this property, all of those who adjoin it will experience this. I have Quinnipiac below me. The new president is on the 25 acres below my property. It's fine. I mean, it's pretty. They take great care of it. And they have purchased houses on my street, which I understand. John Leahy's master plan 25 years ago was to own all, as I heard him say, own all of the property between Ives Street and Mount Carmel Avenue, you know, for the campus. And I can understand that, you know, that's what he wanted. They are buying up property on Hogan Road, and they take good care of it. And they thoughtfully put in staff rather than students, so we don't have that problem. But this is the problem that I don't want adjoining neighbors to have. And I'm used to it. I am contiguous to the university on two sides, on the north side and on the west side. I'm not good at footage, I'm probably 100 or 200 feet higher than the parking lots, which are behind the top dorms. As you face the university, you look up and all of a sudden on the hill are all these well-designed dorms, and all of the cars are behind them. Then there's woods, and then you go up a bit of shale, and my house is there. It's that tall, sort of funny-looking modern thing on the top of the house, on the top of the road. Anyway, car alarms go off every few hours during the day and every few hours during the night. It can really, I've gotten used to it, but it's not fair to neighbors to put parking lots in an established, bucolic residential area and expose them to car alarms and day and night, even though they may turn the locks and close it at 10 o'clock at night. People are going to leave their cars there and come and pick them up later, and the alarm will go off. And the other thing, I never knew much about light pollution, but I sort of Googled it, and here's what I came up with. They're going to have lots of lights by the Giant. And I'll just be very quick. I just learned this 5 hours ago. Artificial light at night, according, if you Google it, to National Geographic magazine, disrupts the patterns of wildlife, which we've heard before, increases the amount of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, and disrupts human sleep. This is artificial light. And it also, covers, it obscures the stars at night. I know I love looking out at night from where I am because I'm high and I see all the airplanes and stars. Anyway, this sounds very dramatic, but it's from National Geographic magazine. The negative effects of artificial light, and they've done studies and I can't tell you what they are in each one, but you can Google it. Obesity, depression, sleep disorder, breast cancer, diabetes, and reproduction. It's amazing. There are studies that link, they've done studies that link people who have worked in factories under artificial light during the night. And in those studies, they have found that there's a higher incidence of mood disorders among the people who work all night in artificial light. Also, an increased risk of breast cancer and prostate cancer. Now, nobody's going to sit out under the artificial lights, and Quinnipiac might say they'll turn them off at 10 o'clock, but I wouldn't want to be next door out having dinner with friends at 10:30 at night and over and over. Anyway, and we're worried about that. So I think it's a great idea for another location. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Wells. Well said.
Thank you.
Tom?
Tom White, Summer Lane. I'm in favor of this regulation amendment and keeping it at 10 acres. Schools in this day and age bring cars for activities, for conferences, what have you. And it's my understanding that any construction that took place pre-zoning was grandfathered in anyway, even if it was residential and it didn't conform, it's grandfathered in. So I don't believe there's an issue there. Residential zones need to be protected from intrusive overdevelopment that is out of character with the residential neighborhood. I am in favor of protecting the integrity of residential zones. This amendment will prevent schools from overbuilding on undersized parcels in residential zones. Please vote yes to approve this regulation amendment. Thank you.
Okay, Tom, thanks so much. Okay, anyone else want to speak? John?
Chairman. I am a neighbor to one of these proposed locations. So is my daughter. Pardon? 5036 Ridge Road, John Acapora. 5060 Ridge Road, Maria Acapora. And I think that all of the comments made tonight are appropriate. 2.5 acres, first of all, the quality of a facility for any kind of education.
Pick it up a little bit, John.
Pardon?
People on back can't hear it.
I'm sorry. The quality of a facility that's on less than 10 acres is, with today's needs for athletics, for outdoor activities, are just not going to be addressed. So that facility is not going to be adequate. That is why I think that opinion of 10 acres is minimum is probably appropriate. Because the school that was originally proposed, they didn't have a cafeteria. This is on this site, not to point out this site. And I think Brother Parisi did an excellent job, and Bonnie, who lives on Hogan, is absolutely accurate. And I believe the hours of operation for these are not limited to daytime activities. I mean, they will have conferences at night, they'll have activities at night, and that's very intrusive in a residential zone. I think I might want to point out, Alan, that maybe another element to this, that it should not be in violation of the plan of conservation and development, because they kind of really lay out the parameters of where things should be in the town. And they deal with aquifers, protected aquifers, they deal with that type of thing, density of impervious surface, et cetera. So I'm in favor of the town adopting a 10-acre rule. I think it's appropriate. I think less than that probably would not be adequate for a, should I say, a reasonable academic facility, especially with all the attendant activities that can come with it. Thank you.
Okay, John, thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Lana Claire Ives. I reside at 369 Mansfield Road, 367 Mansfield Road, 371 Mansfield Road, and 2605 Ridge Road. This application for a change in the regulations was needed a long time ago, in my opinion. And John did a great job of laying this out. To have a school on less than 10 acres is pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. I would go further, and I would have said 25 acres. 25 acres really is not a lot of land. I have a 45-acre parcel, not here in town, but in another town. And when you get down to it, it's not that much land. We see land at a premium here because, you know, we live next to New Haven and Yale and Hamden, and so we're living on smaller lots in the majority of the town, but not in this area of town, which is the Sleeping Giant area of town. Years ago, there was taxpayer dollars spent on conservation and development studies. And at the time, that was back in, I think, the 70s, and I had discovered this just doing a little bit of research, like that hard. But it said in that plan of development that land in the Sleeping Giant Mountain area, adjacent to a small college called Quinnipiac College at the time, which maybe just had a few buildings, it was desirable for the town, both towns, to procure land in that area. And there was like nothing done about that. And so that's kind of why we're here. Because when you pay for studies with taxpayer dollars, they give you those studies back and you kind of have to go along and think about following those, right? Because they're designed for a reason. They're studied for a reason. So the 10-acre minimum, really all through town, is kind of ridiculous. I would say to have it more on 25 acres. But 10 acres, fine, for now. But it's really not that much land. So to go any lower than that, it's kind of really not a great idea in my opinion. Especially since we have parts of town, including the Sleeping Giant Mountain area of town, which really is a natural wildlife habitat. There are corridors for wildlife, and you know, now that we have schools expanding in the area, wanting to go into the area, you're delineating all of that wildlife. And the Sleeping Giant Mountain is the most amazing natural resource that this whole area has. So it's not like I'm talking about I'm in your backyard person, because I'm not. People from all over the state of Connecticut come to Sleeping Giant Mountain, and they enjoy walking the trails. They enjoy seeing the wildlife. They enjoy it for many reasons, many reasons. And so having a school with just bare minimum amount of acreage in that area, it's not feasible, it's not healthy, and it's not wise. I think if I was sitting where you were sitting, I would say, yeah, change this right. Because you know why? It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for the residents, and it's the right thing for the community at large, outside of the local area that enjoy the mountain area. It's the right thing to do. And sometimes we just have to bring it into our hearts to step up and do the right thing. So John, thank you for doing the right thing. And I hope everyone here will follow suit. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lorna.
You're welcome.
Well said. Anyone else? No one else? Okay. We have someone else.
Hi, I'm Gary DeSimone, 5200 Ridge Road. First of all, I want to thank the Commission for not having approved the Slate School. Thank you very much for that. I want to make a couple of other observations. I haven't actually counted how many people are in this room, but they're all in favor of this, even though they haven't all spoken. There are probably 25.
Speak up a little bit, Gary, please.
Sure. There are probably 25 people sitting in this room who are in favor of this, even if all of them haven't spoken. I think you're taking note of that. And I really emphasize something Mary White said, which is that a developer can come in and buy 3 contiguous pieces of property that'll amount to, let's say, 7 or 8 acres, and they will put a school in there if they wanted to. So that's why I think 10 is the minimum we should go to. I really like Lana's suggestion of 25, but the reason we proposed 10 is as John described. Just as an amusing side note, this would never happen, I don't think. But if the owner of 5100 Ridge Road were able to buy Maria's 5060 and mine 5200, they'd have about 7.5 acres. That's another reason why I think 10 is the minimum we should go to, even though I do understand your other concerns. So, thank you very much, and I do hope you'll approve it.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary. Anyone else?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marilyn Calderon. I live at 5000 Ridge Road, North Haven. And I just want to echo the words of the women that went first. The 2 women that went first left an impression on me regarding mental health and the wellness of families that chose Ridge Road or the facilities in between to live a comfortable life, really just enjoying natural habitat in that area. I think that we chose to live here to raise our children and also to take care of our families. I am Latina. I have children that have gone through the North Haven public school systems, but I also have had parents that have been diagnosed with cancer, and I want them to die with dignity, and I want them to be able to be taken care of without us having to worry about bright lights, loud noises, and things disrupting the natural places and spaces that we decided to live in. We have 10 acres, we want peace, we want to be able to enjoy just what we have in our very own backyard to live comfortably. And honestly, when it comes to my parents and my children, I'm a mama bear. And when it comes to my neighbors, I'm a mama bear. I feel that, you know, our voices do matter, and the way in which we want to work collectively to make sure that we understand that there's nothing about us without us. Unity and community is everything. And I have seen in the Hogan Road, the Ridge Road, and also in different parts of our town, towns coming together in Hampden and in North Haven to really fight this plight of taking over the very essence of the piece that we decided to move into, because we believed in the system that North Haven and Hampden has painted for us. Because when you are in need of taking care of your parents or your grandparents, and you are that family that takes care of your whole family, like Miss Linda Remitz, I think it's really critical that we understand that we may not share our stories, but the essence of what we stand for needs to be privatized and needs to be respected. And I am a graduate from Quinnipiac University. I believe in their mission. However, I do know that they have many, many classrooms that are empty half of the time. And they don't need to buy more of our privatized neighborhoods to make that accessible to more students. I spend all of my weekends picking up vaping units on the ground, thrown in my yard, beer cans, and anything that you could possibly imagine that the cars are speeding down our street and we tell them to slow down, but yet it still happens. So I think when it comes to the essence of what we all stand for, having a privatized neighborhood protected by the goodwill of all of us, I would really appreciate it if you would definitely not consider this going through and certainly approve the 25 acres that Lana has just mentioned. Not the 10, the 25. Yes, I feel that everybody's decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, well said. Okay, okay, very quickly. Alan, all that effort that went into protecting all these buildings in town, they're going to the wayside, you know? Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can I get your name again? I'm sorry.
Julie, Julie, Hulton, Hulten, 42 Homewood, North Haven. And, you know, I know someone mentioned the neighborhood of Sleeping Giant. I volunteer there every weekend in the summer. Actually, anytime the temperature's over 50 and under 90. Being welcome to Sleeping Giant State Park. And I can tell you, not just Connecticut. People come from New York. Last weekend, there was someone from Maine. They came down for a concert and they said, oh, and we thought we'd hike at Sleeping Giant. And you know those people bring business. The idea of less than 10 acres for a school, I think 10 acres is reasonable. I appreciate Mr. Quick saying, you know, the pristine areas, we need to keep them. So if it's less than 10 acres, it's not appropriate for building on. So I just support the proposal.
Thank you very much.
I'm one of the people that Gary referred to, who probably in the audience wants this to be approved. So my name is Linda Remitz. I live at 188 Ives Street. My property is 25 acres, so I'm North Haven and a Hampden resident. So I live, even though it's 188 Ives Street, my main entrance is on Hogan Road. And over the last 25 years, I've worked with the federal government to preserve our property. We have a forest exemption, so we're trying to help the animals and conserve the area. But all these years, we've been fighting Quinnipiac. And I think that we've had increased traffic. We've had problems with animals being killed, turtles. As Marilyn said, we're always constantly picking up garbage. And I would hope that you would approve this, because I think that allowing schools to be built on, more schools at the foothill of the mountain are causing many problems in our area. And I must say, if I didn't love my property, I'd be out of here, because the invasion that happened to us from another school has been horrendous. So please approve this.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? One more time, anyone else? Okay, yeah. Not much to respond to here.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking of is
John.
The only point is that I wanted really a question for the commission. A are you intending to close the meeting tonight, or do you think after discussions there may want to be, may want to keep it open until, you know, there may be something I want to respond to, but it's.
If there's anything you want to respond to, do it now.
Well,
We're gonna
I
take a-
agree with everything my
Well, we're gonna keep it,
my
we're gonna keep it open, we're gonna
compatriots,
take a break
present.
in a few minutes here, John, so.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just didn't know if the commission wanted any further input, or if you're gonna close the public hearing, and whatever you decide to do, it's fine with me.
Okay.
I thank you very much for your attention again.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, I guess we've heard all the input, now we just gotta think about what's going on here, but I'm not gonna close the public hearing quite yet. But I do wanna take a break, and perhaps a 10-minute break, and then we'll be right back. Okay. Okay, folks, we're back. Okay, is there any further talk that wants to be heard now after the break before I close the public hearing?
Well, I want to thank, oh, not that one, sorry.
Poor Johnny.
I wanted to take the microphone away from Alan.
Go ahead, John.
Having had the benefit of the public input, I will tell you that I'd like to stay with the 10 acres as originally proposed. I think we could live without the ledge restriction. However, per your land use administrator's observation, I do think that you should add to the proposed amendment that the land should exclude, or the usable acreage should exclude steep slopes. So with that one affirmation of the 10 acres, the reduction or the exclusion of the ledge provision, but the inclusion of Mr. Frederickson's very cogent comment about the steep slopes, omitting steep slopes from the acreage calculation. I think we've got a pretty darn good amendment, and I hope this commission will act favorably on it.
Okay, thank you, John.
You're most welcome. Thank
Okay.
you.
John, do you think we want to have the plan of conservation and development in accordance with that? The property be in accordance with the plan of conservation?
My colleague suggested that we include some language about inclusion of compliance or conformity with the plan of conservation and development, which I wouldn't object to, but I think is redundant because the plan of conservation and development applies to all properties in the town. So if you want to make it specific to that, I mean, we'd love to have it, maintain the rural character of that section of North Haven. And I do think it's something to be adhered to.
Schools, if someone's going to propose a school, it has to be via special permit, right? Which means you have to conform with the plan of comprehensive.
It means what, I'm sorry?
It means you have to conform to the plan of comprehensive development. I'm just wondering if it's redundant, if it's already required in there, or if specifying it adds anything. It may, I just don't know.
I'm concerned with conflicts within the plan itself, and if you look at the plan and you say in a broader sense, there's the town should focus on developing their educational opportunities or alternative educational opportunities. And then it says we should try to preserve space and not develop in the northwest corner. You know, what do you do with that? I think that there are themes that run through the town plan of conservation and development that stand on their own. I would tend to say it's hard. It depends on what you extract from that plan, you know, relative to any particular application. I would tend to not put that in, but you know,
Well,
I'm just concerned.
You will hear our observations with respect to the property at 5100 Ridge Road next month in the context of the plan of conservation and development. I certainly have, spent a good deal of time studying that plan as it pertains to the area around the Sleeping Giant. And I mean, it wouldn't offend me to have that in there. I'm not sure it's necessary. And so however the commission chooses to do it with the guidance of your land use administrator will be accepted.
What do you think? Put it in or take it out?
I don't think we need it, but.
Okay. What do you think?
I think we definitely do not need it because the plan changes over years.
Okay.
It's too ambiguous.
In my mind, it's covered when you're filing for a special permit, so I'm okay with it not being in there.
No, we don't need it.
Okay. We're not gonna put it in.
If you want to give me 1 minute, I'll take a look at how the introduction to that section goes.
Sure.
Well, the section with respect to special permits is 2.1.1.5, and it reads, and I'll quote, "The following uses, when specifically approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission after a public hearing, subject to such conditions as said board may establish, giving consideration to the effect of the proposed use on present and future dwellings in the vicinity, to the proposed site planning and landscaping, to other conditions affecting traffic safety, to the provisions for off-street parking, and to other standards provided in these regulations." And then it goes on to say, such approval shall also be required for any expansion of such use or any change in driveway access or other substantial change in site plan affecting the public interest. Now, it doesn't specifically refer to the plan of conservation and development, but it does say other standards provided in these regulations. So I'll let the commission decide whether it wants to put in, make specific reference to the plan of conservation and development. And as I said earlier, we could live with whatever the commission wants to do.
Okay. I'm gonna go with once more. That's it. Brian, what do you think? Put it in or take it out?
Don't put it in. Don't put it in.
Don't put it.
Don't put it in, he says.
In my mind, plans of comprehensive development are aspirational documents that talk about where we want the town to go. When a court's reviewing an appeal of something, it looks at the existing regulation. So I wouldn't mind seeing it in there. I'm one person on the commission. I'm not going to object to it if everyone else feels that it shouldn't be, because I know that it can be included in the consideration like it was at the prior applications here. So I would prefer to be in there, but I'm not going to fight it.
I don't want it in there. I object to it.
Okay.
Well, again, my
You
sincere
heard the
thanks for your
argument.
consideration.
You heard the argument, gentlemen?
Yeah.
And you stand on what you're saying, don't put it in the board?
Right.
Don't put it in, okay. Okay, we're not gonna put it in.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's it, we're not gonna put that in there. Do you have that, as he gave the changes in the amendment? So you can read that back to us so we can make,
So do you want to listen to it or do you want to interpret
Is it possible for me to just interject at this point? So the idea was, as near as I could tell, you want to keep the lot area indicators as they were,
Yes.
but to remove the portion that indicated a reduction for ledge.
Correct.
So that's a simple
Yep.
cross out, and then to add the restriction that steep slopes would be subtracted also from the lot area, and then we just need to define, your cluster reg indicates anything over 25% slope is a steep slope, and that should be eliminated from the lot area.
Okay, then you
Should
just
say
make them
steep
change.
slopes over 25%.
Okay,
I actually wrote these things down so I would not have to rely on my memory for it.
okay, that's good.
Good job.
Okay, I want to make sure we're done here. Everybody's done. Everybody's finished. We're good? Okay. Public hearing's closed. Anybody waiting for that? It's over. Okay. Now, okay, gentlemen, you heard what we've been talking about here. Get a motion to approve it as it's been laid out with the changes that Alan just gave to us, and the slopes and the ledge coming out, and staying with the 10 acres. My God, what we're finished up with.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a
And quick.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Oh, that's it, carries. Okay, folks.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.